I'm begging you, stop, please. She dug her toes into my flesh. What the fuck? What are you exactly, Michel? Hello and welcome. I'm Ash Mannix, and once again, we're playing the house in Fata Morgana. For you, this would have been about a week since the last part of the playthrough, but for me, I've decided to record two parts of the playthrough in one night, just because on the last part, things were getting really interesting, and I couldn't not continue the game after that. So, in the last part of the playthrough, Michel was carrying on with his story of his youth, where he without thinking, because of how touchy-feely Amy was being, and not being used to kind of like being around another women, or even other people in general outside of his family, accidentally goes to kiss Amy, and Amy's taken aback by this because Michel is supposedly a girl, or seen as a girl at least, or whatever, regarded as a girl in the family, and she's like, yeah, you shouldn't be doing that, and leaves. After that, Michel at night goes out to get some fresh air or clear her mind, and comes across Amy embracing Didier in the night outside in the field somewhere, or outside the house or whatever. And so it turns out that Amy is having an illicit affair with Didier because she is engaged to Georges, the other brother. So that was a bit of a shock. And Michel overheard Amy saying that she found Michel to be disgusting, saying that Michel is homosexual because Michel is supposedly a girl who likes girls. So that was a massive shock and burned to the system, on top of the fact of how Amy reacted to Michel kissing her earlier that day. And it just got worse. Turns out Michel got ill. Something was happening to her. Didn't understand. Was kept in. Michel was kept in his room the whole time for like 6 months. The mother kind of stopped visiting. I kept whenever she did visit, was muttering that she's a girl for some reason. And then by the end of the 6 months, turns out Michel's kind of grown. It's almost like Michel hit puberty. He's grown into a man. You can see it. And then he gets fed up, breaks out of the room, confronts his family. They're just like, what the hell is going on? Who is this? Because they don't recognize Michel. And he has just a bedsheet on, takes it off, and it turns out that Michel doesn't have male genitals. I don't know if Michel has female genitals or just none. I'm assuming female I don't know. You need to have something to be able to pee from, so I don't know. But who knows? And everyone's kind of horrified. Michel at this point then blurts out that Amy's been having an affair with Didier. And George is like, what? What's going on? I'm like, what the fuck, Georges? And on top of it, so Michel gets like cast back into his room, and this time is like properly, like they cover the windows and all that, and trap him there because he is seen as a freak or someone who's cursed, and he goes mental. He does attack a servant, to a male servant, to see what it is that people are saying that Michel doesn't have. Gets the servant to strip naked, which is pretty bad, and sees that this male servant has a penis and balls, cock and balls, and he's like, oh, this is what they're talking about. And then Michel goes mental and says, well, do you know what, you think I'm disgusting, I'm gonna chop your balls off, basically, and make you like me. Obviously that's freaking insane, and so the servants come in and save this manservant and pull Michel off him. And so they don't even feed Michel anymore because they're scared of what Michel will do. And then Amy comes randomly after 4. So Michel starves for like 4 days, doesn't have any food or water. And then Amy pops in and she's turned into. It turns out she's a fucking sociopath. She's like, "Oh yes, I took over the job of feeding you, but you know what? I decided to just feed the cats your food instead of you. I didn't think that you could only survive 2 days without water, though. I didn't want you to die. I just wanted you to suffer. Obviously, because she's been exposed as being someone a bit of a hoe. I don't know, like cheating on her fiance and all that nonsense. And yes, it turns out that she's enjoying making Michel suffer, making fun, ridicule Michel, making Michel like throwing water onto the carpet, making Michel like suck the water from the carpet, just treating Michel like a piece of shit. Really horrible stuff, and enjoying, reveling in it. And apparently this is part of her personality as well. She has part psychopath, on top of everything else. And that's kind of where we ended it. Fucking hell, man. I didn't think this was going to go that bad. So there's a lot of parallels I'm seeing between Michel's existence and his previous life, or well, I call it previous life because it is his youth, but it feels like another life almost. And the witches, so makes sense that the witch found some interest in Michel when Michel entered the house. And it's interesting that Michel never really bothered to ask the witch what her story was. I think the witch, I assume, knew what Michel's story was and wanted to, I think, make friends with Michel because she saw a kindred spirit, at least in terms of the experiences they had gone through. And Michel wanted none of it and closed himself off to everything, which must have hurt the witch greatly, which is part of the reason why the witch is making Michel go through all this, making him suffer. But it makes me wonder if the Giselle that we saw when Michel opened the doors at the top of the tower, and just before we were engulfed in the story of Michel's upbringing, if that Giselle was an illusion. Because Giselle said you're disgusting, supposedly finding out what Michel's deep dark secret was. And that just seemed a bit off. That type of difference. Calling Michel disgusting, out of all the things that Giselle could have said, having found out what the story of Michel, what the secret Michel was, to say that Michel's disgusting is not the thing I would think Giselle would have went for. But I'm thinking that was an illusion by the witch to make Michel suffer. Anyway, I have talked for long enough. Enough waffle. Shall we get into this? Are you mentally prepared? I should probably put some sort of content warning. Be aware this has pretty hard-hitting themes and a lot of suffering. Though I think this whole game is... this whole visual novel is going to follow that, so let's get into this. Let's inspect our memories. See where we last finished. The Demon Child or something it was called? Amy quietly rose. So we're just at the point where Amy is torturing Michel. Amy's the only one that has agreed to is willing to give food and water to Michel at this point. All the other servants are too afraid of Michel. So Amy is making Michel suffer because she has control over Michel. Amy quietly rose, grabbed me by the hair and shoved me to the floor. Let go of me. You call yourself a man? You can't even get out of a girl's crib. I'm not all that strong either. In fact, I'd say I'm rather weak. Just a small, powerless girl. If you were a man, you'd have no problem breaking free, malnourished or otherwise. No. They have hardly fed Michel. Like, Michel has had a weak constitution from birth as well, so no. But you can't. She traced the lines of my emaciated ribs with her nails, travelling slowly, down my chest. But even ignoring that, you're missing the most important part. Stop, get off me. I tried to shove her aside with all the strength I could squeeze out of my arms, but as Amy had said, I couldn't even overpower a girl. All I could do was lie there beneath her and beg. Get off me! Groaning in anger and frustration. Her finger came to a stop just above my navel. She looked up at me with a sweet smile, and then pulled her hand away. And just as a wave of relief spread through me, she shoved me back, jumped up, and slammed her foot between my legs. I shuddered as the pain jolted up my spine. Amy looked down on me as I screamed. A smirk spread across her face. Oh my, does that hurt? There's a surprise. Even without boy parts, it still hurts. Stop, please. And she didn't stop at stepping on me. I'm begging you, stop, please. She dug her toes into my flesh. What the fuck? What are you exactly, Michel? From the feel of it, you don't quite have proper girl parts either. Amy, please. What is down there? On top of the physical pain, unbearable humiliation, shame corroded away at my spirit. What a strange creature you are. Stop. If I could have died right then and there, honestly, that would have been preferable to the emotional hell she was putting me through. You should take a look at yourself in the mirror, Michel. You're crying, sobbing like a sad little girl. Not much of a boy, are you? And you lusted after me with this body? God, I hate Amy now. How do you do this? She seemed like such a nice person. She's such a fucking complete bitch. Seriously. You're disgusting. I can't believe you actually had the gall to fall for me. The gall? Fuck off. Amy's abuse was not a one-time occurrence. As she had promised, she came to feed me every day. But her arrival brought nothing but anguish and torture. Every day she chipped away more of my spirit. But I hadn't succumbed to her yet. My anger still overpowered any fear I felt. About a week after Amy started caring for me. Have you been a good girl, Michel? I brought you your supper. I'll set it right here for you. What's the matter, Michel? Your food's right there. It's going to get cold. Go on. Eat. But no using your hands. Crawl over and use your mouth. Come on. Eat. Or would you rather I fed you? You. What was that? Do you have something to say? I can't understand a word you're saying, Michel. If you would eat, you would have enough strength to talk. Huh? I'm going to kill you, Amy. That was, I believe, the first time in my life I had felt a sincere, overpowering desire to end someone's life. I wanted to see her dead. With my hands and legs tied up, I lurched for her. Oh, she had fucking tied... Wow, she had tied him up? What the fuck? And like the dog she so wanted me to be, I chomped down on her wrist. Wait. Ah! The taste of someone else's blood was far more unpleasant than I had expected. I felt like I was going to vomit. But I was determined to not let go of her wrist for any reason. I would gnaw through to the bone and rip her entire hand off. She could beat me unconscious and I still wouldn't let go. She would have to kill me to get me off of her. I wanted her to feel the same pain I felt when she trampled on me. But let go! My body never did what I wanted it to, though. I could swear in my life I wouldn't release her arm, but I could never seem to make good in my determination. Amy's foot flew up into my emaciated gut. The pointed tip of her shoe dug into my flesh like a knife, and I collapsed to the floor in a fit of convulsions. And just as I was about to cough up a mouthful of stomach acid, she rammed her foot into my abdomen a second time. She didn't even give me enough time to get to my feet, let alone fight back, before she kicked me again. Again and again and again and again. Stop. My gut, my chest, my legs, and my face. What's wrong with you? Don't you get it? You're not the one in control here. You should be thanking me. What you did to me that day was incredibly hurtful. Yet here I am bringing you your food. Can you not see just how kind-hearted I am? So why would you go and bite me? What would possess you to do such a thing? Gasping for breath, my consciousness slipping away from me, I caught a glimpse of Amy's eyes as she swung her leg back for another kick, and when I did, a single word rose to my mind. Demon. Is that something? You can't even stand up to a girl. I'm not that strong. I'm weak and frail. This is the first time I've ever kicked someone. I have absolute control over you, Michel. You understand that now, right? You learned your lesson, didn't you? Not an ounce of strength remained within me. My tongue and cheeks were torn up and my mouth tasted of blood. Thinking herself weak and having no experience in the ways of physical violence, she knew no restraint. The ignorant can be so much more brutal and viciously relentless than the seasoned. My vision had gone red and I could hardly feel my own face. There was a strange gurgling sound with every breath I took. Ah, jeez, what am I going to do about this hand? It hurts like crazy. Oh, I know. I'll tell everyone you finally lost it and try to bite my hand off. They'll all feel so bad for me. I could just see the sad looks on Didier and George's faces. They will not. You know, your brothers have completely given up on you. A deranged sister is nothing but trouble. You know what you are, Michel? You're a demon child. Why was I the demon and not her? Why did no one come to my aid? Several times I considered ending my life, but every time I did, memories of better days came back to me, of the time before my body had transformed, the days when we were all so sure of our happiness, kept me chained to life. Why couldn't things still be the way they had been then? In my heart I hadn't changed at all, so how had things ended up like this? Michel, oh Michel, are you in there? Did you need something, Georges? Oh come on, don't be like that. Do I have to need something to talk to you? No, but you look like you were in an unusually good mood, so I thought... Well, why wouldn't I be? It's a wonderfully gloomy day out. I would understand if it were clear out, but can you really say it's wonderfully gloomy? Well, you can't be outside for very long when it's not cloudy, so in our case, this is perfect weather. What do you say we go for a little stroll while we can? Dee's around today too, so we can see if he's up for it. It'll be like old times. We've been running around like headless chickens lately, so we haven't had much of a chance for a sibling outing. We'll have Mum make us lunch and then... Ooh, we'll take a couple of horses up to the forest's edge. I'm fine with that if you are. You bet your bum I am. I asked after all. Now, come on, let's go. Georgia seems pretty cool. It's interesting that, so like Georgia seems... In my head, right, Didier seems like the more rigid minded brother, being the eldest and training to be a knight, whereas Georgia seems to be the more flexible, or at least the more carefree, but also flexible in terms of thinking. And it's, I think because Michel was more in awe and saw Didier as more of a kind of role model, because Didier is training to be a knight and Michel's always wanted to like swing a sword and go on adventures like a knight. Like he's always kind of like gone to Didier first to talk about things, whereas I wonder if Michel had gone to George's, if things would have been very different. George's might have been a bit more accepting, I would say. I don't know. An outing, you say? Yep. Hop on a couple of horses and head for the forest. We haven't done this in a while, so I figured why not? I see. Well, if Michel is coming, I see no reason to say no. Let's set off right away. Whoa, slow down there. Are you saying you wouldn't go if it was just me? It's Michel or nothing? Of course, why on earth would I want to go horse riding alone with you? I would rather drown myself. Gasp! Didier? So is Didier the one that Michel was closest? Yeah, so Michel was closest to, but is Didier... Didier didn't say too much, did he, when Michel broke in and was like, I'm a man? I don't think Didier said much. Didier, could I perhaps make a small request? Go on, let's hear it. Do you mind if I hold the horse's reins? Oh, that's all. By all means. I'll be there behind you to make sure nothing happens, so have at it. But do be warned, my horse is a bit temperamental. If you're not gentle, he'll start getting moody with you. I doubt that'll be a problem for you though, Michel. I'll be careful. Hey, whoa, slow down, guys. Look at that, Michel. George is still fumbling around all the way back there. Are we going a bit too fast? No, you're fine. That you were able to get past that so quickly is proof of your talent. Ah, finally caught up. This isn't a race, you know. Why can't we just enjoy the scenery, indulge in some nice pathos? A warrior and his horse need not of pathos. Isn't that right, Michel? It certainly is, Didier. Come on, you guys, be nice. This was my idea. You've really taken after old D, haven't you, Michel? I, for one, would rather see you admiring flowers or dancing with butterflies or gazing out at a beautiful sunset or enjoying poetry. More pathos, my dear sister, and less barbarism. Long swords, suits of armour, and tales of heroic knights are so much more appealing, though. You've let him get his claws in too deep, Michel. Oh dear, oh my, I'm going to have 2 meathead siblings before I know it. What did you just call me? Now, you two. Why don't we stop here for a picnic? Seconded. My stomach's been rumbling up a storm. I took a few bites earlier because I was about to die back there. I hope your horse throws you into a river. Hey, so the other day I brought a cat home. A cat? Yep, speckled from head to tail and ugly as a witch's arse. I was going to keep it in my room, but Mum flipped when she saw it. Keep that filthy thing out of my house. Wish there was something we could do about how much of a clean freak she is. Georges, try not to stress Mother too much. You're unpredictable enough as it is. It would be nice, though, to have a cat, I mean. You think so? Then how about this? We'll keep it in the courtyard. I'll feed it on days when it's clear, and you can do it when it's cloudy, Michel. I don't know what cats eat, though. I bet he'd like pastries. Do you want to kill this cursed thing? I cannot approve of anyone taking care of an animal who thinks that's a good idea. Sorry. Oh, pull the stick out your arse, D. Life's all about experimentation. Live and learn. Don't experiment on animals. Well, if you're going to be like that, how about you help out too? You can keep an eye on us and make sure we don't do anything stupid. But now you're trying to drag me into this? Already done. You're in. It's settled. Damn it, Georges. Now we need to come up with a name. Have any ideas, Michel? You want me to name it? Not very often you get to give another living thing a name. Well, I guess you might have a few more chances down the road. Consider this practice. Something elegant and beautiful. You've got this. Now, Georges, don't put so much pressure on her. You have a point, though. It's a good opportunity. Don't stress too much about it, Michel. Just choose something you like. You said the cat was speckled and ugly. Yep, one look and you'll be laughing so hard you can't breathe. Alright then. Ugly Speckles. Oh, Michel. That's its name? It would seem you do not have a future in the arts, Michel. But you said it was ugly and speckled, Georges. I did, yes. You could have tried a little harder than that, though. But, you know, why not? Ugly Speckles it is. It's actually kind of charming when you say it out loud. Ugly Speckles. It's not that funny. It is quite something indeed. The more I think about it, the more I... Not you too, did you? We should bring Ugly Speckles on our next outing. Sitting together beneath the clouds having lunch. That we should. When Michel's gotten a little bigger, let's do this again. The three of us and our ugly speckled cat. You said it. We're all good friends here after all. I've never been your friend though. God, must you always be such a jerk? Look at the siblings get on. Then Amy comes and ruins all of that. And then puberty helps Michel and stuff gets weirder. But then nobody came to see it. Michel, when he was ill, what the fuck, man? That's what did... They were just like, yeah, we're just going to not see the sister that we love so much for 6 months. Because the mum says that Michel is cursed. What on earth, man? Did you? Georges, was Amy telling the truth? Do you really think I'm nothing but trouble? Do you think I've lost my mind? That I'm a demon child? Did you? Georges, why'd you not open this door for me and let me out? Were the things I said that day really so heinous? Do you resent me too? Like Amy? Did you? Georges, how do you think about me now? Is this body really so unusual? If I hadn't undergone the transformation I did, would things still have been the way they were before? Would we be able to go out to that forest again and make silly, meaningless conversation, everyone laughing like we had then? If this body hadn't changed the way it did, would I not be trapped in this darkness? Even if that were the case, I didn't want to be a girl. If God descended from heaven and offered to change me back, I would have turned him down, because inside, I wasn't a girl. And my nightmare at Amy's hands didn't end there either. As much as I loathed to admit it, I was terrified of her. Every day I dreaded the sound of the door opening. However, If I were to block the door off with furniture, I would lose my only remaining lifeline. I had no choice in the matter. It's time for supper, Michel. I brought you your favourite, parsnips. Wait, isn't this the thing that Michel hates? Well, what the dogs didn't eat of them anyway. Oh my god. But you don't mind, do you? I'm going to cut your nails today, Michel. I need you to stay very still. You wouldn't want my hands to slip. So to make sure you do, I'm tying you up. This way you can't accidentally move. Here's your water, Michel. It's murky. Oh, heavens me. I must have fetched it from the wash basin by a mistake. It's supper time, Michel. I brought you parsnips again. Don't worry, the dogs didn't have any of these. They didn't seem to be interested in eating them raw. What? You don't want any? Then what am I going to do with these? You know, Michel, you're such a disgrace. Cry for me, won't you? Beg for mercy. Look at you, all that pride, gone out the window. It's hilarious, I tell you. She did everything imaginable to torture me, both physically and emotionally. To be honest, it was rather impressive in a sick way, how she was able to come up with so many different ways to torment me. And she knew precisely what caused me the most pain. My body, and the discrepancy between what I was and what I felt I was. She delighted in telling me I wasn't male, and sometimes in showing me. But I don't think I need to describe the things she did to me in any more detail. I could think of only one way to keep myself from breaking down. I completely stopped talking, stopped struggling. Then, one day, after about 6 months or so, she said with a disinterested sigh, I'm done. And that was the last of it. What? She's just done. Got it out of her system, did she? By swallowing my pride and not resisting, I was able to escape from her grip. Alright, she didn't like it when you just gave in. Once she was gone, the servants took over attending to me again. I was still imprisoned, but now there was a serenity in my solitude. I didn't speak with anyone. I didn't make eye contact. I didn't do anything. I just lived. But even though I had peace, I still feared Amy having a change of heart. I trembled at the possibility that one day it might be her that opened the door. But above all, I hated, despised the fact that I lived in such fear of a girl. An overwhelming self-loathing threatened to crush me. I had recurring nightmares about the things Amy had done to me. The wounds she gave me did not heal. They only grew worse, eating away at me day after day. I was beginning to lose confidence in my own sanity in the silent darkness, where there was no sense of time. The line between dream and reality blurred. I often found myself screaming, crying into the empty air. I clawed at my skin, pulled out my hair, paced back and forth across the room, pounded at the door, yelling for help. Screamed some more. It was the very image of pitiful, absolute wretchedness. And every time I did, I'm sure there was someone on the other side of that door, whispering about how poor Michel had lost her mind. Eventually, I gave up entirely. It was a stormy night in my 16th year. I had been confined for more than 2 years at that point. Heavy rain pounded against the windows like thousands of little spears. I was sitting quietly on my bed, unable to fall asleep, when suddenly there was a loud banging on the door. Michel! Michel, are you awake? If you aren't, then hurry up and get awake. We've got big trouble. Wait, what? Lower your damn voice. But After 2 years of Michelle sitting in there stewing, now you decide to come? What the fuck? When I first heard my brother's voices after so long, I thought I was hallucinating. In 2 years, they had never once come for me, no matter how hard I pounded on the door, no matter how many times I called for them. And after all that time, I didn't expect that to ever change. I had given up, assumed they had long since cast me aside. Unable to bring myself to say anything, I simply stared at the door. When there was another bam, bam. The sound was half consumed by a crack of thunder, giving it an indescribably eerie quality. Please say something, Michel. Seriously, there's no time. You can hear us in there, can't you? You're there behind the door, aren't you? Come on, just one word, Michel. Michel spelt with one L. Is it really you, Didier? Georges? For a moment, they seemed to be at a loss for words. Probably because they almost didn't recognize my voice. But it was only a heartbeat, and then Didier spoke. There is a carriage waiting outside. I'm going to unlock the door so you can leave in it. Why? Because Dad's talking crazy. He's saying the Bollinger family has no need for a demon child, that you're a mark of shame on our name. So he's going to have you executed. Georges! Father wants me dead? It felt like the floor had fallen out from under me. Executed? Demon child? Mark of shame? So he was saying I didn't even deserve to live anymore? It's planned for tomorrow morning. We only just found out ourselves, which is why you prepared a way for me to escape. But why? Why? Do you even need to ask? Because we're family. Something's terrible has gone into Father. I clenched my teeth, fighting back a bitter, angry sigh. But I couldn't keep all those emotions bottled up for long. A maelstrom of feelings I thought I had lost in my 2 years of imprisonment swirled up inside me, spilling from my lips. Why? Why are you doing this now? If you really felt that way, then why did you come sooner? 2 years I spent locked in this room. Do you have any idea how I felt in that time? Any idea how hard I had to fight to endure? How many times I cried for your help? How hard I pounded on the door begging to be set free? But never, never once did you come. Not even once. Michel, I scare you, don't I? You think I've gone insane, that I've lost my mind? That I sold my soul to the devil, don't you? No, Michel, we don't. Then why? Why didn't you come and set me free? Michel, we don't think you've lost your mind at all. So you didn't want to see me then? You didn't want to face what I'd become? Tell me I'm wrong, Didier, Georges. You left me here, abandoned me for 2 whole years. Locked me away so you didn't have to see me. I'm sorry, I'm just, really busy with my art. Oh my god, Georges. I've been getting a ton of commissions down at the court. And Didier's a knight, So he's up to his neck in expeditions. Wow. I'm really sorry. As am I. I cannot say that you are wrong. After what happened, I wasn't sure how I was supposed to act around you. I'm still not sure, even now. I knew I had to find a time to collect myself, but I kept putting it off, vainly hoping that time would take care of it all. And for that, I owe you an apology. But you need to understand, I do not agree with Father's decision. I do not want to lose you. I don't think you're a demon child. And Georges feels the same. Neither of us want to see you dead. What he said, Michel. There's not much time. We need to get you out of here. I bit down hard on my lower lip, hard enough to draw blood. It was that, or start sobbing. It's a little late for that. Michel. If you don't get out of here, you're going to be killed. If I'm not an angel sent from heaven or a demon child, then what am I? What on earth am I? What are you? You're a Bollinger. You're our family, and that's all there is to it. I pray you can forgive me for averting my eyes for so long. Can I trust you? Can I trust that even if the whole world says I'm cursed, that you'll always be on my side? That you'll always be my brothers? Can I put my trust in you once more, Didier, Georges? You absolutely can, Michel. I swear to God on high. And I swear to God of art. Michel. I have no other choice, do I? I couldn't talk father out of it, could I? I would rather you didn't try. He's not a man to change his mind. If you were to show up before him, he would likely draw his sword on you himself. It would destroy Mother. I'm sorry, we're not doing this only for you. Okay, I'll go. Oh, thank goodness. The carriage will take you to a mansion, Michel. It's a property father purchased some time ago. But due to rumours about the house, it's abandoned. No one wants to buy it from him either, and that's unlikely to change. It's an ideal place to keep you out of sight. What kind of rumours? Well, no point in keeping it a secret. He has a right to know. They say a witch lives there. A witch? I think it's all just made up personally. I went to check the place out and there was no one there. It was a little dreary, to be sure. I'd hoped to have a better place arranged for you, but there wasn't enough time. This is only temporary, Michel. Temporary? I cannot say how long it will be, but father will pass away eventually. Holy shit, man. Well, just wait till Dad dies. When he does, Georges will inherit the estate, and that will mean you can return. So I ask that you hold on until that time. If I don't leave, I'm going to be executed. So send me anywhere and I won't complain. I'm glad to hear you say that. I'll talk to father, and sure he does not suspect anything. We'll make this work, don't you worry. The long and short of it is, Dad simply wants you erased from the family. Georges! Sorry. I wasn't trying to be mean. But anywho, once I take over, we're in the clear. You'll be acknowledged as a Bollinger. I see. Okay then. Can I open the door now? Just a minute. What? You're still not ready? I don't have any clothing. Ah, right. You wouldn't, huh? How tall are you now, Michel? Around the same height as you, I think. You're taller than me? Damn! Alright, I'll bring you some of my clothes. Thank you. Wow, I don't think I've ever heard you say thank you without putting up a fight, Michel. That's not true, I don't think. I'll be back soon. Get what you need together. Alright. Sitting in the carriage waiting outside, listening to the pitter-patter of the rain, I gazed out at my two brothers. I hadn't seen them in 2 years, but they hardly looked any different than how I remembered them. I was the only one who had changed, and dramatically at that. Looking at them, I couldn't help but remember the old days. Playing chess with Didier, learning to draw from Georges, our sibling outings. However, the ominous sounds of thunder crashing in the distance drowned out those memories. The mansion is several days' travel from here. Hopefully the carriage isn't too uncomfortable. I will send a package with any supplies you need once a month. Food, clothing, and something to pass the time. If there's anything you want, Michel, just tell me. Now, or you can have a servant pass a message on to me. I can't think of... Actually, wait. I can't think of one thing. I would like a chess set. Alright, I'll have one made. I would rather have yours, Didier. Would that be possible? Are you sure you want that beaten old thing? Yes, I want that one. Alright then, I'll include it in the first delivery. I'll send you something too, Michel. Anything you want, just tell me. In that case, I would like some art tools. I'm nowhere near as much of an artist as you are, Georges, so they don't have to be anything special. Gotcha. Some canvas and, how about some charcoal? And when you're back, I want to see what you've made with it, okay? Okay. I know this is already hard enough on you, Michel, but I need to ask you to do something for me. Avoid making contact with anyone who doesn't already know about you. So, I can't talk to anyone but the servants. Put simply, yes. Tomorrow, the world will consider you dead. So we cannot have people finding out you are actually alive, especially Father. Please do this for me. I've been doing that for 2 years already. I've long since lost interest in interacting with anybody, so you don't need to ask me to keep to myself. This makes me wonder why Giselle was sent to the mansion. That must have been Didier or George's decision. Being the only two that really know that Michel is in the mansion. Oh no, the mother knew as well. Anyway. Right. Does anyone else know I'm alive? Yes, Mother knows. In fact, this was her idea. It was? She loves you, Michel. Well, she really does. Mum just, is having a little trouble facing the truth. So even though she's not here to see you off, I guarantee you she doesn't want to see you dead. Nice. She wants to have you in her life again. I expect Mother will be writing you, so please take the time to write her back. She's a troubled woman, but her love for you is true and unwavering. Will you do that? Just a quick little, hey, got your letter, doing great, will suffice. Alright. Just so you know, it kills me indeed that we can't stand up to Dad, but as long as he lives, his word is God in this house. I understand that, yes. Well, you never know, he could be gone much quicker than you expect. A week from now and bam, he's dead as Dee's social life. Is there not an ounce of respect in your body? Oh, give me a break, I'm upset. He's gone way too far. And once he's dragged his arse off to the great beyond, anything goes. Surprised Michel was alive. Yeah, I suppose. Until then, we'll take care of things here. Tomorrow's going to be the performance of our lives. Crying like a couple of big babies and laughing our tails off inside. You'll forgive me if I have trouble trusting that loose tongue of yours. Psh, I'm not stupid, I know this is important. Not even Amy will suspect a thing. Amy. Yeah, not even she can know. Good. Oh, fuck. It's gonna crush her, I'm sure, but the less people who know, the better. When Georgie said her name, my whole body went shamefully cold. It had been 1.5 years since the hell she'd put me through, but every last detail of it remained carved into my mind and body. There was no way she would be even slightly sad about my death. She might act it, but she would almost certainly be elated by the news. It seems Georges had still yet to see what lay beneath that woman's mask. I know you two were close. Huh? Are you worried about how things might affect her? What? She cared for you about 6 months, didn't she? When you wouldn't let the servants in. What? From what I hear, you got real close to dying in there. You wouldn't even eat unless she was there. Who the hell told you that? What? Is that not what happened? Did something happen between you two, Michel? Amy didn't do a damn. Never mind. I can't tell them. I can't put what I went through into words. It would only worsen my shame. Especially not in front of my brothers. Georges, how are things between you and Amy? You still letting what happened 2 years ago get to you? Well, I mean, at the time, things were a total disaster. I'm all excited about getting myself a pretty little wife, only to find out she's rocking the boat with someone else. I mean, it was your brother, mate. I cried for weeks. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's your reaction. Deep down, though, she ain't actually a bad girl. Okay. She's young and kids make mistakes. Fucking hell, you're forgiving. After it all came out, she turned over a new leaf. She started doting on me something serious, and well, it's hard not to let one little mistake like that go when she's trying so hard to make up with me. The age excuse doesn't work for Dee, though. For about a year, things were really rough between us. I didn't even want to look at him. But at the end of the day, we're family. We can get past anything. Oh man, Besides, because you let the cat out of the bag, that gave me something to hold over Dee. All things considered, I'm not complaining. You're kind of mental, Georges. So, you would say you're happy then, Georges? Sure would, yep. Believe it or not, I'm kind of head over heels for her. Hard not to like a girl like Amy. Oh, I see. Do you really feel that bad about 2 years ago? So she's still keeping up the good girl facade around George and Didier. No one else knows she's actually a sadistic, cackling demon. There's nothing less trustworthy in the world than a woman who's always smiling. But if Georges thinks he's happy, I can't take that away from him. Michel? Oh, right, yes. I do feel guilty about the way I lost control of my emotions and took it out on you guys. It happens to everyone, especially when you're fucking in prison for 6 months and treated like a demon. In fact, you could stand to do a little more shouting and fussing. Then you could... Because I have underdeveloped social skills. You heard that? You've got one hell of a nasty streak, huh, Dee? Ugh. I'm glad to hear you're still on good terms. It wasn't my intention to pit the two of you against each other. We know. The blame falls on my shoulders. I want you to know something, Michel. Though your transformation was too much for Mother and Father to accept, with enough time, everything will go back to the way it was before, just like it did for myself and Georges. None of this is your fault. It was all unfortunate timing. Wait, what? God's a little bit of a jerk too. Try not to forget I am a knight, Georges. In time? In time. Speaking of which, we don't have much left. I'm going to tell the coachman to set off, okay? Didier. Yes? Tell me the truth. Will the three of us ever meet again? Why would you ever ask that? Of course we will. Not a chance I'm letting this be our last family get-together. One last question then. Yes? Am I your brother? Well, I mean, look at you. Don't look like much of a sister to me. So yeah, I'd say you are. I see. So long then. Yes. So Georges is a lot more... Well, Georges is also willing to kind of do a bit of a lying. But I think he's a lot more flexible. Didier, on the other hand. Farewell. And may good health bless you until we meet again. Until then, Michel. Farewell. Before seeing me off for good, they both gave me strong, firm hugs. Didier first, and then Georges. The warmth I felt in their arms, in my family's arms, slowly spread through my chilled body, which made it that much more difficult to part ways. The wheels of the carriage rattled against the wet stone-paved road. I stuck my head out of the window, watching as they shrunk into the distance, standing there in the rain until they were completely out of view. A tightness filled my breast. Every glimmer of hope I had had for my new life was matched by an equal degree of darkness and uncertainty. Would I ever make it back home? If I did, would people still call me a demon child? Having to write mother was another uncomfortable weight on my soul. The thought of having to play a girl for her made me sick. Georges had acted like it would be nothing, but it wasn't that easy. It was more than mere pretend. Didier had said that with time things would change, but how could he be certain that those changes would be for the better? The wooden wheels turned, carrying me away to that cursed mansion. The next thing I know, I'm sinking into a vast void. Darkness cuffs my hands and legs, restricting my movement. Images of the past I had kept buried away for so long stream past me. This isn't how I wanted it to happen. Not coming from my own mouth, but being laid bare for all to see without my consent. That wasn't how I wanted her to find out about my secret, about my shameful history. I warned you, my dear. I told you you didn't want to reclaim your old self. If you had simply let it be, you wouldn't be here now, forced to relive it all. Now, do you understand? The tale I spun behind the fourth door was as much for you as it was for her. There you were a young man with a sad fate, but you met a wonderful woman, fell in love with her, and then died in the arms of tragedy. The sequence of events is not far from the truth, but I was able to turn it into something enchanting and beautiful. I got rid of all the nasty little details, your ugliness, your body troubles, all of that. Doesn't it seem a bit unfair, Michel? You tore down the walls around Giselle's heart, around her past, but you wanted to keep your own nice and safe and hidden away. She has every right to be upset. You were afraid she wouldn't accept you, were you not? And that's precisely what happened. But can you honestly blame her? The truth you've kept hidden away is not something most would be able to accept. The prince who came riding in to save her, silence, wasn't actually a man. Please, enough. I've seen enough. Let it stay buried, please. Just stop this. I don't want to see it. I don't want anything to do with it. What a sad little creature you are, my dear. Not a woman in this world would have any interest in you now. You've surrounded yourself with layer upon layer of walls, covered yourself with this patchwork, barely held together quilt of masks, and it's the only thing keeping you together. You're the frailest one of all, the weakest. And it's about time you accepted that and stopped trying to fight it. I'm not weak. Oh, is that so? Let's proceed with the tale then, shall we? Face the one you hate the most in this world. Yourself. Your weakness. Your ugliness. Face it and despair. Don't. Again. Once again, my own desires, my own wishes are completely irrelevant. The past sprawls out before me once more, and the witch is exactly right. I despise the man I was then, teeming with vain hope and foolish dreams. I would rather pretend that part of me never existed, but I have no choice. I'm dragged back into the life I once lived, my pleas for mercy, fading into dark nothingness. I couldn't remember how long it had been since the capital had disappeared into the distance, but I'd been on the road for some time now. We'd long since left paved roads behind. The carriage rocked back and forth as it proceeded down a rough dirt path. For hours I stared through the window as unfamiliar scenery flowed past. Eventually, a fog settled over the area, making it difficult to discern night from day. We made our way through dark, dense woods, and beyond them, like the world fading to view after dream, a mansion appeared before us. All the windows were either shuttered or boarded, encasing the house in darkness. In a way, it felt like all I had done was move from one prison to a much larger one. Briefly, I thought they had possibly been sealed to keep anyone from seeing me inside, but my coming here was a very recent development. More likely, then, the house had been in this condition when it was initially purchased. Quite the piece of property my father had found himself with. I wondered if he had been swindled by its previous owner. It was a gloomy, uninviting place, but it didn't appear to be in disrepair. The coachman left my luggage outside the door, gave me an empty farewell, and then went on his way. I was entirely alone. I spent some time just staring out at the forest, but naturally there was nothing of interest to be found there. So I quietly turned around and opened the door to the mansion. So are we going to get the true story of how Michel and Giselle met and the actual circumstances around their deaths? Because that's what the previous stories were. Part 4 was how they kind of died. There was the intro in that as well. Yeah, some of that. But was that... I don't know. It's certainly dark. I could barely even see my own feet. Briefly, I considered trying to unshutter a window or two, but I ended up deciding against it. The less inviting the place looked, the easier it would be for me to avoid contact with the outside world, as Didier had recommended. Standing there in the darkness for several minutes, my eyes gradually grew accustomed to the lack of light. I'm beginning to think of how Michel's death was portrayed, protecting Giselle, and I'm trying to remember what happened was a bunch of guys were sent to the house, a bunch of knights were sent to the house to kill Michel, and so they were after these, they said the witch. And so Giselle was kept in the... Or is that the fake story? Are we going to get a real story of what happened, how they died? Let's see. Standing there in the darkness for several minutes, my eyes gradually grew accustomed to the lack of light. While it was hardly ideal, it was sufficient to take a look around the house. The inside didn't seem to have received the same level of care as the outside. Everything was dusty and the air was many years stale, but I wasn't in a cleaning mood. So I dug through my luggage for a bundle of candles, lighting one with a flint. A stained glass window. Examining the large room I found myself in, I came across a stained glass window depicting an angel. The Archangel, after whom I had been named, looked solemnly down upon me. Quite the joke. 2 columns of evenly spaced pews ran the length of the room, all facing the multicoloured window. I set the candlestick on a podium of some sort, which is when I realised this is a chapel. A flat length of silver bent in the middle was mounted to the pulpit's face. When I saw it, I knew exactly what it used to be. Length of silver. A cross. The pews weren't facing the stained glass, but the cross. Why though? It felt as though the mansion had been built up around the chapel rather than the opposite. I was perplexed as to why anyone would do that. But of course, there was no one around to sate my curiosity. Taking the candlestick back in hand, I made my way beyond the pulpit. There sat a small metal door. I pressed one hand against the cool surface and my heart leapt. It was abnormally cold. Though the door itself seemed perfectly normal, an inexplicable anxiety spread through me. It was a very unusual sensation. My instincts told me I should stay far, far away, and my heart told me it was my duty to see what lay beyond. What am I going to find back there? After a few moments' hesitation, I decided to act in opposition to my instincts. I was looking at a long spiral staircase. The wooden stairs stretched so high I couldn't tell where they ended. An observation tower, perhaps. As if being pushed forward by some inhuman force, I mounted the staircase. By the 3rd or 4th loop, soft light began peeking into the tower through regularly spaced rectangular openings in the stone walls. Through one such window I gazed outside, and far off in the distance, beyond the seemingly endless ocean of trees, I saw a small village. Nowhere am I ever going to go. So many stairs. It had been quite some time since I had exerted myself this much. I hardly had any opportunity locked away in my chambers. With every step I took, I could hear my joints creaking and my muscles screaming. I was long since out of breath, only staying upright with the help of the wall. Ugh. This is pitiful, damn it. But turning back never occurred to me. I had to keep climbing, had to make it to the top, and it was that feeling of necessity that pushed my exhausted body upward. By the time I reached the top, I was practically gasping for air. Sweat streamed down my forehead. I wiped it aside, turning my gaze towards yet another door. But unlike the first, what on earth? A tangle of rope covered the surface, layer upon layers of it, making its intent abundantly clear. Nothing shall come in or out. It didn't look like it had been put there recently either, as much of it was rotted through. Out of curiosity, I grabbed the coil and yanked. The rope snapped in several places, chunks falling limply to the floor. That wasn't enough to allow the door to open, though. People only sealed doors like this for a reason, largely because they didn't want or couldn't allow others to see what hid behind them, like what they did to me. For a few moments I felt as though I was looking down at myself from outside my body. If it hadn't been this man, but someone else standing there, would they have turned back at the sight of the sealed off door, acting as though nothing was there? Or would they have done as I did? I ground my teeth, a mix of annoyance and bitterness rushing through me, but I did not hesitate. I held the flame of the candle up to the wall of rope, careful not to set the whole thing ablaze, slowly, carefully burning through them one by one. It was repetitive and time-consuming, but I persisted, wiping away sheets of sweat before it streamed into my eyes. The sun was well on its way down before I finally managed to expose the door. I took a deep breath. I looked up at it and gulped. There was something indescribably chilling about the door, and then I pushed it open. A barely noticeable breeze brushed past me. A single ray of sunlight shone into the room, coming from a single window sitting high atop the wall. It cast a milky white patch of light on the hard floor, revealing the fact that I was not alone. The rumors say a witch lives in the mansion. There I saw, in this cursed house, a skeleton with only one arm. A cursed mansion for a cursed man. It was like I was destined to end up here. I had no way of finding out who the skeleton belonged to, so I left it there at the top of the tower and retreated into thought. I wondered to myself, how had the one-armed person died? How had they felt locked in that room, staring up at that sole window so far out of reach? About the only thing they would have seen was the sky and the occasional bird. Had they yearned for more light, or had they come to despise the tiny patch of it that trickled into the room? Had they seen some sort of wicked criminal imprisoned for... Had they been some sort of wicked criminal imprisoned for wrongdoing? Not all prisoners are necessarily bad people. Having been branded with a non-existent curse, I couldn't help but think that perhaps something similar had happened to whoever they were. Vainly reaching out for the sun, constantly praying for rescue that would never come. What had gone through their mind as they withered away? Would anyone ever come for me? Would my brothers keep their word? Or would I, years from now, end up another pile of dry bones somewhere in this house, unwanted and alone, robbed of all hope, with no one but the darkness to talk to as it sunk its teeth deeper and deeper into me? That corpse could be me in the future. Did ye, Georges, did you really send me here to keep me hidden? Or is this to be my grave? Can I put my faith in you? Can I trust you when you say I'll be able to return? That everyone will happily accept me? That we'll all be together again? That we'll play chess? That we'll draw pictures? That nobody will be left out? All I really wanted was for people to accept me for who I was. To accept that I was a man. No, that I had grown to resemble a man. That I had the heart of a man. I didn't need anything else. I didn't want to cause anyone anguish. I didn't want to hate anyone. I simply wished to be who I was. No, who I wanted to be. And I didn't want to be treated like I was strange or different. If that was asking too much, then at the very least I wanted to have one person in my life who truly understood me. Interesting you say that. The witch is probably that person, ironically. Did ye, Georges? I pray that you can be that for me. Lurking quietly in the mansion's all-encompassing darkness, I waited and hoped that that day might arrive, when I could come out of hiding. However, 1, 2, 3 years later, I had still not been set free. Only my mother wrote me, and in all her letters she said the same thing. When your curse is broken, come back home, sweetheart. When your curse is broken, I want you back in my life. When your curse is broken, everything will be back to normal. I wait expectantly. The day you are free of that terrible curse. The curse would never be broken though. What I was now was what I was meant to be. All that time I'd spent as a girl, none of that was real. Didier had said he didn't think I was cursed. My brothers didn't think I was some hellish demon child. So no, the curse would never be broken. Because there was no curse to break. I wasn't cursed at all. There was no damned curse. The flow of time eroded away at me, slowly killing any confidence I had once had, sucking me dry of all trust for others and myself. With enough time, I started questioning my own beliefs about what I was, started thinking that perhaps I was cursed. Much like the ad at the Bollinger estate, the servant who came by every month did his best to avoid making eye contact. But beyond just bringing me food, he was also checking in on me and making sure I didn't attempt to run away. And every month, he probably went back and told Mother the same thing, that my curse had still not been broken. Do you have the answers I seek, O Father in heaven? If you do, I ask of you to guide me, to please tell me what I am, if I truly am cursed. And perhaps you could tell me how much my soul weighs too. Probably not very much. I spent enough time alone in that dark mansion to drive anyone mad. The more time that passed, the more I grew to question myself, my worth as a human being. And whenever the self-doubt and loathing became too much to take, I trekked up to the top of the observation tower to see the light. Sitting there on the hard floor, I would place my hand on the skeleton's leg, its shoulder, its hand. From the size of the bones, whoever it was appeared to have still been young when their life withered away. Poor child. Even I feel blessed compared to you. Oh, how miserable it must have been locked away up in this tower, to have your arm mercilessly severed. You have my pity, though. I alone shall mourn your death, and I alone shall take comfort in your presence, you poor, poor child. By pretending to pity someone who had it worse than me, I was able to feel somewhat better about myself. Because if I was in a position to pity someone else, then conversely, I wasn't in a position to be pitied. Vainly, foolishly trying to convince myself of a lie, I spent hours, days alone in that tower, holding the dry bones in my arms. Now there was a sight to lend credence to my alleged madness. Over time, the air in the mansion seemed to thicken, as if the fog were condensing. Water pushed out all the air, swallowing me up, suffocating me. A putrid mire. I was trapped at the bottom of this thick, black sludge. Soon I lost track of the passage of time, my only landmarks being the dates on Mother's letters. Before I knew it, 8 years had passed. So you are 14, 16, 8 years, 24? Yes. What the hell is this? I hadn't heard my own voice in so long, I'd almost forgotten what it sounded like. There was a delivery that day, but it wasn't the usual package. The servant was instead carrying a large rectangular object draped in cloth. Is it a mirror? Shoving that into my hands, he said, "The regular supplies will be here in a couple of days," and then ran off. Presumably, he was afraid to spend any more time than necessary with a cursed man. But I didn't bother to say anything about it. I knew it was a waste of breath, and I was not inclined to hold it against him if he didn't want to look me in the eye, to exchange words. All I could reasonably do was sit back and bear it. As long as I kept my mouth shut, the man could do his job in peace. By the candlelight, I began unwrapping the package the servant had delivered. From within, a sheet of parchment fell to the floor, and inside the package was a painting. Just looking at it, I couldn't tell what it was, aside from the fact that it was a portrait of a woman. I knew those brushstrokes, though. They were very distinctly George's. The woman depicted had white hair. White hair. There was a flash, a fresh jolt of the pain that had nearly faded away. The half-dozen needles piercing my chest. So much blood had spilled from those gouges I had long since lost any sensation of pain, but now it was back. No, Georges, you didn't. My whole body froze. The blood in my veins came to a halt. I couldn't breathe. I was drowning in a pool of imaginary water. I crouched down to pick up the sheet of parchment. It was a letter in Mother's handwriting. The first line read, as it did in all her correspondence: My beloved daughter Michel, every day I pray that your curse might be broken. But lately I have come to think that perhaps the reason you remain cursed is because you have forgotten what you are supposed to be. So long you have spent in that accursed form, it is little surprise you would lose sight of yourself. How can you return to your true self if you do not even remember what that is? So I asked Georges to paint you a picture, hoping it might help you break free of your curse. You are a beautiful young woman, my dear Michel. I presume you have already seen the painting. It's lovely, wouldn't you agree? That flowing white hair and skin like glass, those deep, enchanting red eyes, those slender fingers and modest feminine frame, those soft lips. It is not you when you were younger, though. Instead, I had him imagine what you would look like now. That is, what you will look like when your curse is broken. Isn't that wonderful? Imagine it. Envision yourself, your true self. Remember who you are. Recall your true self. I wait eagerly until the day you come back to me, looking as beautiful as you do in this painting. My dear, sweet Michel. This is you. This is the real you. You are beautiful, my little girl, and I love you dearly. That awful fuss all those years ago, we could pretend none of that ever happened. Forget all about the dreadful thing that curse made you. Become the girl you used to be, the girl you are meant to be, so we can once more be a happy family. I am waiting, forever waiting for you. The letter ended there, leaving me with the woman in the painting staring back at me, her eyes seeming to insist that I was not me, that she was the real me, and I was nothing more than a fraud, laughing at me, scoffing at me forever, thinking I was anything but female, mocking me for stubbornly insisting I wanted to be a man. The pain in my chest swelled, spilling from my mouth in grunts and moans. And then... Gah! I screamed from the bottom of my lungs. Why? I yanked at my hair. Why, Georges? Slammed the painting against the floor. You said I could believe you. You swore to the god of art. So why would you do this to me? You said yourself that you didn't think I was cursed. You acknowledged me as your brother. You know this isn't me. So why? Why would you make this? I've been waiting for so long. I put my trust in you and Didier. I trusted you. I believed you'd always support me. Was that all a lie? Deep down you really think I'm cursed just like Mother. And that's why you haven't written to me. Why haven't you answered any of my letters? Where did my faith get me? Why did you even help me escape? Was it all for show? Was my execution just a lie? An excuse for you to send me somewhere far away? Well, was it? Tell me, Georges. Tell me the truth. What about you, Didier? Where do you stand? No, this isn't real. My voice was getting hoarse. I didn't have the strength to hold it in, and everything came spilling out of me, squeezed out by the phantom water. The white-haired girl in the painting just stared back at me, smiling. I bit down on my lip as hard as I could. A metallic taste spread through my mouth, drops of blood trickling to the floor. Pulling the knife I used to open the monthly deliveries from my waistband, I lifted it high into the air, gathering what remained of my strength. This isn't me. And slashed the woman's face with it. This isn't me. This isn't me. I am not this woman. I am a man. Carved into it, this is not how I look. With everything I had. Don't try to erase who I really am. Don't call me repulsive. Don't say I'm an abomination. I tore into that smile, contempt surging from every slash. This woman isn't real. I wanted to curse the whole damn world. Every last thing, this wretched mire that had become of my life. My brothers for happily going about their lives as I suffered here in the darkness. My delusional mother for refusing to acknowledge who I was. My father for trying to have me killed. Amy for making me realize I was a man. And then for torturing me for coming out about it. Everyone. I didn't care anymore. I wanted everyone who had ever wronged me to suffer the same way I had. I can make that happen. A voice rang out. And I think that is a good point to stop and save. Oh, well, it got a lot worse. Well, I mean, there was a torture and that continued. But now we are back at the mansion. And we've just gotten to the point where Michel first meets the witch Morgana. I did think that Georges was just kind of saying things to placate Michel. I feel like Didier, the thing about Didier is that Didier is just more honest. Like, he's uncomfortable. He is uncomfortable with, like, regarding Michel as a brother, but at least he's honest about it, right? Better than to lie and smile and be like, yeah, I'm alright with it. Like Georges seems to be. Or maybe Georges is a people pleaser, so when their mother asked Georges to paint it just to make her a bit happy, he did it anyway, even if he knew that would be painful, Michel. I don't know. Georges was also the one that sent a letter. I believe it was Georges that sent a letter to Michel saying that their father had died, and that he would be sending for Michel or something. But yeah, so interesting. So we're getting the real story now, the real nitty gritty story. I thought Giselle's was bad. Everyone's story fucking sucks in this, man. The Giselle's, the witches, Michelle's. God damn, man, crazy, isn't it? How where we started and where we've gotten to, and the kind of like different hidden stories of everyone coming out to the fore. But this is probably why this is such a highly rated visual novel. And I am loving it. It's just like making me feel pretty shit though. But on that note, I think we'll leave it there. I am Ashmanix. This is The House in Fata Morgana. And I will hopefully see you guys next time. Bye bye.